So we were a product of the Act 46 merger, and we took two towns with K-12 schools, Bethel and South Royalton, and the middle school is in the old, what was the Bethel School or Whitcomb High School, and it is students from two towns and a staff from both those schools. So we felt it was really important that we focused on our school culture with our 130 some odd students and at least 8 core teachers, and I don't know the essentials count, so I don't want to go there. As we created this new middle school out of those 2 existing K-12 schools. So the purpose of our advisory program, which is where we decided to focus our efforts with our community, was to foster students' development of their own identity, guide students' development as a learner, connect school, home, and the wider community, and develop a sense of belonging in an advisory, on a team, and in the middle school community. So the structure of our program, our advisory meets every day from 8:10 to 8:25. We have 11 advisories. We started the year with 12, but somebody decided to take a maternity leave. So we absorbed that advisory into the few of the other advisories. The advisories are multi-graded, so there are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, approximately 8 to 12 students on every advisory team. Core teachers, essential teachers, special educators all serve as advisors. Students are organized also onto 2 teams. One team is called the Sugar Maples, the other team is the Mighty Oaks, and those 2 teams are pretty evenly split from the 130 some odd students. One team does have an extra advisory program, so the advisories are a little bit off. Students earn advisory points for positive behaviors or CHIPS, and we do a monthly breakfast. You might see a slide of that at some point. And we have a middle school community meeting that meets every Monday at 10 o'clock to do recognitions, announcements, an activity, a share for about a half hour, I guess. Okay? What goes next?
All right, so this is my section. So we lifted this format for an advisory slide from Team B, which we were on over the summer. And they always started us out with a song that's just something to sort of like enter to and to sort of sit and reflect as you come into the room. Since our advisory time is so short, we play that song and everyone knows that means advisory is starting. You come and you sit down, settle into your space. Then we have a share, which is usually something that sort of connects to that goal of like, who am I? Who are these other people that I'm in this group with? How do we fit together as a group? And then an activity. Sometimes, because our time is so short, we have what we call the Shacktivity, which combines the share and activity so that we can really go deeper into one thing instead of trying to spend 2 minutes on this and 3 minutes on that. And for this one, the share and the activity are connected. So the students are talking about who's someone that we admire in our lives, and that connects to the goal of who are you as a learner, because it kind of gives them like, okay, if I admire people like Albert Einstein, Michael Jordan, Rosa Parks, or Beyonce, it kind of gives them a goal of, this is the kind of person I admire, how do I get to that, and how does school fit into that? So they think about a person in their life that they admire and why, and then they choose one of these famous people that they admire, and they have to get up and go to a corner in the room that's assigned that number. So, 1 is one corner, 2 is another, 3 is another, 4 is another. They discuss in their groups why they chose the corner they did, why do they admire that person, and then they share out with everyone about that choice. And another thing too is I was thinking with this share to make it someone that was in their lives to help bring in that idea of the larger community too. So you have that personal level, and then you have that even bigger sort of global level with these really well-known figures. And then we have announcements, and that's something that sometimes I know in my advisory I'll read to students, and other times it's just there for them to read on their own, so we don't spend a lot of time on that nuts and bolts kind of thing in advisory because we don't really want it to be about that. And then we always have a quote that is inspirational, motivational, a little nugget of wisdom that we can always talk about when we have time. So we're trying to reach those goals through these daily advisory sessions. But the advisory program is bigger than that too. That's sort of one level, the smallest level, sort of your home base. And so other times we do different advisory activities. Emily, were you going to talk about this part, or is this still me? This is you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the more exciting ones that the kids really gave us a lot of positive feedback. We had 1 week we were focusing on winter themed, winter music, and we made snowflakes, or we're going to make snowflakes one day, and then 2 of the students came to us and asked if they could create an instructional video on how to make really fancy snowflakes. So they did this completely independently. It was really awesome that they felt like part of advisory enough to take that to the wider middle school community.
For this project, you will need 5 pieces of paper, scissors, a ruler, tape, and a pencil. To begin, fold one corner of the paper down, forming a triangle. Use the scissors and cut off the remaining paper. Use your ruler to draw a line
I would like
as
to learn how to make big fancy snowflakes. I've never made one before, and it was successful. I did it. But we just thought it was really awesome that they took that personal risk of having their voice put out there in video format to the other 120 kids in advisory and put their names on it and everything, and it wasn't necessarily 2 girls that are always putting themselves out there like that. And we do various team building activities, so the classic human knot, kids that aren't always into being really close and touching each other, were feeling comfortable enough to do it, or could take a role of giving suggestions from standing near the circle, just different ways for them to access being a part of their group. And we had all of our students write on an index card one thing they were thankful for, and then in the hallway we have a community bulletin board that's at the entrance to our middle school wing, and we put them all together. And it was really awesome. Kids would stop and point out which one was theirs, or oh, so many people said family, I said family. And right now we're in the middle of building our Believe in Your Selfie board, so each kid took a selfie with their computer and made a hashtag out of a goal for the year, and so those are all collaged together or becoming together now.
You'll see lots of food or food things on YouTube. Pizza, cake,
Beer.
pasta.
So, as Siobhan talked about our morning meeting, we dedicate time to that every single day, and we made a commitment never to interrupt that. And we wanted students to know that is something that's very valuable to us as we are working to build our community. One of the other things we were committed to doing was to take our weekly Monday community meeting and try to have students eventually take over a couple of those meetings throughout the year and let them be the ones to run the meeting and sort of give them ownership over the school. So what we've done is we've put together a video, and I want to point out a couple things before we start this guy. This is our very first student-led community meeting. Took place in December of 2018. You'll see that it starts off, students are a little awkward. They're a little unsure of what to do. You hear some questions with their announcements like, welcome? But you will also notice that students are incredibly supportive. They're cheering each other on. You hear a lot more, clapping and woo than when we're the ones leading it. I think you will also notice too, one of my favorite things about this is hearing students take leadership. So you'll see points in there when students leading activities will say, it's too loud, this transition is too loud, which is really awesome to hear. And something else I'll point out about this is that the end of this community meeting, when students head on to their classes, was the most orderly I've ever seen them exit the gym out of all the community meetings we had. So I think it's really cool, and sort of like these students were a really great example for their peers who are going to be leading in the future. Siobhan and I worked together to help the 7th grade students on our team, which was 2 7th grade classes of about 30 students at max. They all had different roles. We dedicated 2 full class periods to it. We knew they were super nervous about it. We helped them walk through and have ideas of what they were going to say and what they were going to do for the community meeting.
People have a lot of time.
Hand over this way and watch as the second line there. Are you zoomed all the way up? Zoom all the way up, about right there is perfect.
Test, test, test. Test, 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 test.
Hello, and the activity is Would You Rather. We have a list of questions, and just to be clear, there is no middle. Just come on. Middle leg. Okay, I'm going over here. Please be quiet. Be quiet, everyone. The transition is really loud. Would you rather kiss a jellyfish or step on a crab? Kiss a jellyfish, step on a crab. Where do you take a sick insect? To the hospital. How does the sick insect get here?
How does the sick insect get to the
Hospital. They use an ambulance. What do you call a cow with no legs? What do you call a cow with 2 legs? Lean beef.
Nice job.
Class advisor can be dismissed first.
Will you guys please explain how our advisory program works at this school?
Well, first we walk in and we get everything set up. After we make a circle, we usually are asked the question for the day, and then one of us is chosen, the chosen one, and we start answering the question, and they get to choose which way we go around the circle asking the question.
Normally there are like shares about something you did or who inspires you, who you aspire to be.
As a part of this advisory, do you feel like you're part of a group? Do you feel like you're part of a team that you know people and that you're connected with each other?
Kind of.
I do.
Like, they're kind of like a giant group of friends. Like, they're good friends, but they're like the closest good friends. Like, if you saw them outside of school, you would be like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? Like, really friendly and nice.
I would say that it's kind of like a family.
Yeah, it is. Like,
well, we'll just show you a couple of graphs. Maybe we'll just show this one and then skip to the other reflections. So we asked students what they thought about advisory time, and the yellow and the red and the blue are like awesome or pretty good. We're thinking we're doing a pretty good job. So how do you feel about advisory time? It's like almost 75% of students are have a pretty favorable view of it, which is great. We have some other questions and reflections from teachers. So we really like advisory time. It is kind of sacred time. We try not to take from it for other things. We really like the multi-grade aspect of it. We really like that it's a manageable group size, so you can kind of check in on them pretty well. That's the croissants playing a game before my advisory, playing a game before winter break, which was nice. And then there are lots of other things that we need to work on, like it's not nearly enough time. We have all sorts of different teachers as advisors, and we're not, it might not work to have all this, like sometimes the special educators get pulled into lots of different places and they may not be the best fit for advisors. We do this weekly email home, that needs improvement. The bus doesn't always arrive on time. We have this cross bus that comes from the other campus that is problematic, making it even shorter. The bottom line is we just have too many good ideas and not enough time. It's a positive